Good job.
Look at that.
You are a John. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our dear sister, Miss Kellyn. Take it away, Kellyn. I think I said all I could say prior to this. Welcome.
This is not going to get me real yet, so.
Oh, man.
Hello. This is actually not going to be too hard for me because you guys are like family to me, which is awesome. So, wow, I'm excited to finally be here because we had to cancel it the first time around. So. But I'm finally glad that I get a chance to publicly tell you guys my story. And I've never shared my whole story with anyone. So you guys. So it was interesting when I was going through my preparation of doing this for the last couple of weeks, kind of, jotting down all my notes and everything. It was just interesting to me how the Lord really started showing me things that I forgot were there. And I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. And I'm like, wow, okay. And then it also brought me to exactly where He was in my life. And along with that, He wanted me to paint a piece of my story that I'll be revealing to you guys. And so my story is all about rejection. So I really hope that, I hope that this will speak to some of you, and but I hope it encourages you as well, and maybe even bring you closer to the Lord, because of my story. So I was bullied a lot as a child, and I always felt like I was kind of the outcast. And even with my siblings growing up, I kind of was the one that, I'm not going to hang out with you, I'm not going to play with you type of thing. I grew up with, there were 5 of us, 5 siblings, but I was the first girl, so I was the first girl in the family. And my sister, which was the youngest, was a tomboy, so she kind of hung out with the boys. She hung out with my brothers, and so I was always the outcast. So I never really had anyone to hang out with, although I had a lot of siblings, So I always felt rejected by my siblings, and then I also was an outcast even at school. I was just always bullied at school. I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I just kind of felt alone growing up as a child. And through that, with my sister in the picture, and I love my sister dearly, of course. My father, it was always about my sister as well. And I remember specifically, this was one of the memories that kind of I totally forgot about, but that I know that it affects me a lot even today, is that I remember specifically at age 11 years old, I was 11 years old, and wanting to sit on my father's lap and him just pushing me away. And that hurt. And I know that has, even till this day, there's a memory that I just can't seem to forget. I have, of course, through the years have gotten closer to my father. Of course, he is passed now, but it definitely affected me, because not only was I being pushed away by my brothers and sisters, I was being pushed away by my dad too. So we moved around a lot as well. So I lost a lot of friendships growing up. We never really stayed in one place. We moved kind of all over the country because my father just needed to go wherever there was money. He was a builder, he was a contractor. So he always kind of uprooted us everywhere. And as he did that, again, lost friendships, So I never really had a lot of friends growing up either. And so that was really hard. You know, when you're young, you know, growing up and going through school, right? You want to build those friendships, right? Don't we all want to build those friendships? And I know for like Bob growing up here in Torrington, he's friends with a lot of his friends from when he was growing up, you know, because he stayed here. So since I've been talking about age 11, 12 years old, I lost my innocence as a child as well at that age. Because I was inappropriately touched by one of my brothers many times. Where, you know, hey, let's go play, you know, go play in the closet, and that kind of thing. And this is really hard for me to share because I've never shared this with anyone. And till this day, my parents never knew. And now they've passed on. But they never knew. And no one really knew. And I never even confronted my brother about it as we grew up. But I have forgiven him. Through the years, I have forgiven him. He is now today a follower of Christ as well. And in a good place in his life. And I don't remember exactly, because these are things that we kind of put in the back of our mind, but I don't remember exactly how many times that they have happened, but I do remember. And so, again, as I was saying, we moved around a lot. My family's from Brazil. So at that age, we used to go and visit our family in Brazil quite often, like probably yearly. And again, being molested by an older cousin. And that feeling of, okay, you can't tell anyone. And I never told anyone. And so it didn't really, it's interesting to me today that it didn't affect me as much as I thought it would affect me in a way emotionally or in here. But I know because of how my life went on, that's how I know it affected me. At about 12, 13 years old, we were living in Texas at the time. And we started going to a Southern Baptist church. And along with everyone else, my parents, my brother and myself, we all decided to get baptized. And I pretty much think that I did it just because everybody else was doing it. You know, you go to Sunday Bible school and then, okay, let's get baptized. But I didn't really know Jesus. And, you know, I had always wanted more and wanted to know more, but it was just something, again, it was just something that we did. So I didn't really pursue it, although growing up and everything, my mother and I used to always try to find another Baptist church when we moved back up here to Connecticut. And at that time, back in the day, there were not a lot of Baptist churches. They found one maybe in Connecticut, so it was mostly Catholic. So we never really never had the opportunity to really pursue and continue to keep going to church. So I'll just share a little bit about my high school years. My high school years, same thing, bullied a lot, didn't have a lot of friends. It was very cliquey, so I kind of just stayed away from everyone. Lost my virginity at 15 years old. I became very rebellious. Bob would probably say I'm very rebellious now. But I was very rebellious. I was sneaking out all the time. My father was very strict. When you come from a multicultural Latin family, your parents can be pretty strict. And my father was very strict. And because I was the first girl, he never allowed me to do anything. Anytime I did anything, it had to go with my brothers. So I was sneaking around, I was going out and, with friends and doing what all the teenagers were doing, just sex and drinking and partying. I have to say I never really experienced smoking, thank goodness, but I'm kind of glad for that, thank the Lord. But, you know, drugs and things like that, partying and just being out all different hours, sneaking back in the house, you know, in the mornings to not get caught, that kind of thing. But I know now, because even then at that time I was still seeking God and wanted to know more, but I just didn't really know how to go about it. But I know today now that a lot of that also again was because of rejection. And I was just looking for attention. You know, I wanted attention, I wanted people to love me, to accept me, and I hadn't received that at all when I was younger and I was a child. So at about age, I think I was 19 at the time, 19 years old, or 18 actually. 18 years old, I moved out of the house because my father was just too strict for me. I couldn't handle it anymore. He's like, well, you're not gonna live your life the way I want you to live your life, then you need to move out. And I did. Moved out and went to live with a boyfriend and his family, and then a year into that, my mother wanted to move back to Brazil to be with her family, and the reason being is because she had cancer. So uprooted again, left my job, left everything, and we all went to Brazil. And my mother unfortunately did not want to pursue any more treatments, and so slowly, you know, she just started deteriorating and passed away at age 42. Oh. And I was 20 at the time, and again, attached myself to the father of my two kids, and brought him back here. We ended up getting married, and at 23 years old, I had my first child, my daughter. She's 31 now. And again, still seeking more from God. And because I was still seeking more from God, and this could be a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know, but my oldest brother had been studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And because I felt so angry with God about what had happened with my mother, you know, Lord, how could this happen? I don't understand. You know, she was such a good person. She has a beautiful heart. She was always looking for you and seeking for you, and I just didn't understand. It makes sense to me. So I needed answers. So I started studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And no one knows this either. Most of you do not know this, but I baptized as Jehovah's Witness. It was a part of my life. I was dedicated to the organization for about 8 years. And through that, my kids, my daughter and my son, mostly I would say my daughter at the time, but they were raised as, you know, as a witness. And so I was doing everything that I thought was right? I was doing everything that the organization was telling me I needed to do to make it right. And following all their legalistic ways and, you know, all the, basically being a robot. But I was happy. And I thought everything was fine. And then all of a sudden, my marriage started breaking down. The father of my two kids. I'm like, what's going on? And he was not, you know, he did not follow me in that path, you know, as a Jehovah's Witness, but he was a Christian. He was a follower of Christ, well, and the best that he could be at the time. But then I found out that he had cheated on me And that broke me. That broke me as a woman, as a wife. And I just, again, I didn't understand it. And I just, again, rejection, felt rejected again. And it made me very angry. Because again, I thought I was doing everything right. And I couldn't understand it. I couldn't make sense of it. I never, ever thought that he would ever do that to me. I'm like, no, this can't be happening. And at the time, my son was, which is the youngest, he was about 2 or 3 years old. So I hung on to the marriage for as long as I could to try to fix it. But then, of course, the enemy got a hold of me. And I wanted to do things to hurt him. So then I started cheating. And because of that, I was disassociated as a Jehovah's Witness. And the church basically disowned me, is the way they put it.
Disfellowship.
Yes, I was disfellowship. And lost all those friendships, the closeness that I had with everyone, and what I thought was a good thing in my life was now gone. So I divorced my husband after being with him for about 13 years and feeling that rejection from church, because that's all I knew. So then I stepped away from any of it. I stepped away from church. I stepped away from just seeking God at the time, because I'm like, okay, I'm trying to do everything I need to do. What's going on? That's right. So again, I became angry with him, with God. And then, of course, the enemy got a hold of me, and sexual sin started all over again. Because I was seeking for attention, seeking for love, seeking to feel worthy, accepted. It was also looking, all my life I'd also been looking for approval, because I didn't get that from my dad. I forgot to even mention, not only did my father reject me as a child, he didn't even attend my graduation from high school. So again, it was just that constant, over and over again of feeling rejected and abandoned. So it was a lot of unhealthy relationships, about 10 years of just a lot of emotional and physical abuse from men in my life. And it turned Kellyn into a person that I didn't even recognize. Like, I didn't even know who I was anymore. And throughout all of that, I was being a terrible mother, because I was only thinking about me. Every single weekend when I could go party, I would go party and I'd go clubbing. It took a long time for me to forgive myself. And I do forgive myself today for that. So I felt like I failed my kids. My daughter did the same thing. Age 18, she left home and went to live with roommates and stuff like that. And today, now she's just very lost in the world. So then moving forward a little bit, again, still in very unhealthy relationships. I finally was able to free myself from one of the unhealthy relationships that was very abusive, physically and emotionally, that I was in for about 8 years. And so again, okay, I'm doing a good thing. God freed me from that. I'm on my own again, raising my son. Then all of a sudden, age 16, he gets diagnosed with T-cell leukemia. Like, wow. And, you know, when you're a single parent, and I was a single parent working a full-time job and taking care of everything on my own because their father was out of the picture. So again, my whole life was uprooted. Turned upside down, completely upside down. I know I had to drop everything, I had to leave my job, and it was all about him. It was all about taking care of my son. 3.5 years of treatments, and I can say today that God came into the picture during that time, and my son he's a miracle right now, because 2 years into his treatments, he completely stopped all treatments, and I didn't know, and we didn't know until his oncologist had a private conversation with him, and he admitted that he had stopped his treatments because she knew something was wrong. His counts were off. And today he is healed.
Amen.
And he's 27 years old. You would never know that he was sick with leukemia, ever. And I thank the Lord so much for that. Because I had friends of mine that were followers of Christ that would come and pray over us. So I knew that he was there. And 2 Corinthians 4:9 says that we are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we're never destroyed. Never destroyed. And in this time frame, I met Bob. And he was definitely God-given. A divine connection. Because when that happened with my son, and I at that time I was just really praying more, and started going to here and there, just going with some friends to church and stuff. And I kept asking for God to bring me someone that knows Jesus more than I do. And Bob did. And because of him, I was able to completely let go of my how do I say it? Like my whole view and vision of what a Christian should look like, and my ways of a Jehovah's Witness, and bring me right into the scriptures and show me who Jesus was. And he did. He showed me who Jesus is. And Jesus used Bob to do that for me. And I'm very, very blessed. So then my relationship with Jesus started. And I wanted to know more. So I kept seeking and seeking more and asking questions, right? I asked a million questions. And because I was asking for more, because we know that when we ask and start seeking God, he will show up.
Yeah.
And he was showing up for me. And that's when I was introduced to creative Bible art. And I fell in love with the scriptures and doodling art. Because of that, it brought me so much closer to Jesus in such an intimate and deep way. And then all of a sudden, my ministry started. My ministry started back in 2019. And my anchor verse is from Ephesians 2:10. Because in Ephesians 2:10, it speaks of me being his masterpiece. And till this day, that is still my anchor verse, because it reminds me that I am accepted by God and that I am a masterpiece. So then doors started opening, opportunities started happening. I started just gathering a few people. My art ministry started. And again, every single day I was spending time in the Word and in the Scriptures and doodling. And that's all it was just doodling. Lisa knows.
Amen.
Just doodling. But it really kept me anchored on the Word, and that's what brought me closer to Jesus. That's what brought me to really know him and get to know who he really is. Never in my mind did I ever think that I would be where I am today. Ever. Because my art ministry has grown so much. I mean, I could tell you guys as so many different things that have happened, from meeting, Pastor Joe Mazzarella and how all of that just kind of just blew up as well. Because of that, because of meeting so many others, Eddie Righteous, and just so many others that are in this room, it's just helped, for me to just grow. In Psalm 37:4, it says to take delight in the Lord, and he will give you your heart's desire. When you take delight in him, he will give you your heart's desire. Trust me. It is so true. Because you know what? Our desires, he puts those desires in our heart. He puts that in there. Today, I actually now have a painting business. My passion is also to share with the church body that art is a form of worship.
Yes, it is.
Never did I imagine that I would be doing something like that. I've never painted my entire life. So all of my doodling turned into painting. And I know some of you know that. And some of you have been a part of this journey with me. A lot of you have been a part of that journey with me. And Kim is one. I've even seen Kim grow in her artistic skills. But you guys, God showed me what the meaning of true love is of a father through my art and through his word, just being in his word. He's shown me also the meaning of a husband. What a wonderful husband is through Bob. Because he truly is a gift to me. He's also shown me the meaning of what a friend is like through Jesus. And a comforter. That comfort from the Holy Spirit. I can say now, today, and I probably wouldn't have been able to say this years back, but that if anything was to happen to Bob, and of course I'd be devastated if anything happened to him, but I would be okay. And I would be okay because I have Jesus in my life.
Yes.
And Bob knows, he knows when I actually said that to him one day. That's when I knew I was truly healed in here. That's when I knew. Because in the past, I had always been looking for love in the wrong places, right? I was always looking for attention and approval, constant approval. Even in my jobs, I was always looking for approval. I just wanted to be accepted and loved. But God showed me differently. And I found freedom in that. True freedom in that. Because he doesn't reject me. Right? He doesn't reject us. He does not abandon us. He's always been there with me. In Psalm 94:14, it says that the Lord will not reject his people. He will not abandon his special possession. I'm his special possession. And I can say that. Romans 8:38 and 39 says that nothing can ever separate God's love from me. Nothing can separate his love from me. Not anyone, not anything, nothing. He loves me. He accepts me, flaws and all, just as I am. Can someone, because my phone is over there, can someone read 1 Peter 2:4, the Passion Translation? Could you grab it? Someone?
Here, hold on. Make sure we hear you.
Is that First Peter or no?
Wait,
1
wait for the
Peter
mic.
2:4.
Yeah.
So keep coming to him who is the living stone, though he was rejected and discarded by men, but chosen by God, and is priceless in God's sight.
Amen. I am priceless in God's sight. I may have been rejected by men or by man, but I'm priceless in his sight, and I'm not rejected by him. Every day he welcomes me into his arms, every single day, and especially when I'm now painting with him. So, as I said to you guys before, in the last, these last couple of weeks that I was preparing for this, he wanted me to paint. So I'm going to show you what I painted.
Wow, that's really good.
And this painting, to me, there were so many tears. I'm just like, even now as I look at it, it just blows my mind of how much, you guys, like I said before, I've never painted my entire life. This is God. He did this. And I'm just still in awe. In awe of how I'm not going to share with you how it speaks to me because I want it to speak to you and your hearts. But yeah, I am accepted. I am accepted and I'm loved. And I thank you guys. Thank you.